Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 8th grade Parent Information Night. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us. I am Mike Piscatelli, Gilland High School principal. Last week, we sent out a presentation that focused on an overview of the high school program. It included the high school graduation requirements, transitional activities that are going to happen between now and next September, and departmental program descriptions. Tonight, we are going to answer the questions that you submitted, and I am lucky enough to have an esteemed panel to help me answer these questions. So I'm going to start by introducing the panel. I'm going to start with Dr. Alex Finzel, who is our instructional administrator for English, Social Studies, and Reading and Library Services.
Hello, everyone.
Ms. Anne-Marie Holmes, Gilland High School Assistant Principal.
Hello, everybody.
Danielle Heigl, FMS Counselor.
Good evening, everyone.
Dave Austin, our Director of Athletics, PE, and Health.
Hi, everybody.
Kelly Willits, our FMS House Principal.
Good evening.
Lauren Anderson, World Language Teacher at the high school.
Hi, everyone.
Lynn Baumgartner, High School Counselor.
Welcome, everybody.
Marsha Ranieri, our Instructional Administrator for World Language Cultures and ENL.
Hi, everybody.
Rachel Anderson, our Instructional Administrator for Math, Science, and Technology at the high school.
Good evening, everyone.
Robert Winans, our Instructional Administrator for Music.
Good evening.
And lastly, Ms. Shannon Elliott, our Instructional Administrator for Art and Business, and Facts as well.
Hello, everyone.
So we're going to get started with some questions that are focused more, just basic scheduling questions, and I'm going to go to Ms. Heigl to answer it. And our first question of the night is, how am I going to pick my classes and get that information to my 8th grade counselor?
Okay, so currently right now, school counselors at the middle school are giving presentations about the high school, and then we are going to be meeting in small groups. And that is where you are going to meet with your counselor you're assigned to, your 8th grade counselor, and you're going to receive a Google form. And the Google form you are going to fill out and submit to your counselor, and that's how we're going to get the information.
Very good. So the next question was, what do I do if I don't agree with my teacher's recommendation?
That's a good question. So there's a process to this. If you are thinking about overriding a class, you're going to have to talk to your counselor first, because there's some classes that you cannot override. But the ones that there is that possibility, you're going to be talking with your teacher first. And your teacher is going to identify what you need to do in order for them to change their recommendation. So that is the process. And then if you are successful with those tasks that your teacher talks to you about or assigns you to, then you and your teacher will have a conversation about changing that class. And your counselor will be informed as well.
Excellent. When do counselors need my elective choices by?
So we are going to have all of our elective choices by February 8th. So by that time, you are going to already meet with your counselor in a small group. You are going to do your research on what elective you are interested in by looking at the curriculum guide. We provided you that link in our presentation, and you will have that Google form filled out and your elective picked by February 8th.
Great. We get 2 more, Ms. Heigl.
Okay.
Can I change classes after the final deadline?
We would like to say no. Every case, we go by individual cases with students. we really need to have everything in by a certain date. But if there is a situation where something must be changed and we talk to administrators, then there's always a slight possibility. But we do really try to stick to our date and have everything done on time and not allow any changes.
Okay. And the last question was, when will I have my actual schedule for ninth grade?
Okay, so it's the same as middle school. You receive your schedule in August. So late August usually is when scheduling, the schedules come out. You'll be able to see it on eSchool.
Well, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna switch gears to some questions that are kind of centered around selecting honors courses. And Ms. Baumgartner, I'm gonna start with you. One of the questions that came up was how many honors courses should I take? Which kind of encompasses the question of how many is too much too.
So the answer to that question actually is pretty subjective. So once the whole process is done and teachers have made their recommendations and students have gone through the recommendation process, and you find out how many honors courses you're recommended for, it does not mean that you have to take all of them. So things that students should really consider is how many other honors courses, what else am I involved in? Do I have a really intense sports schedule? Do I take dance every night? In and of itself, might I be able to handle, honors English, honors social studies, and honors math, but put them all together? How many hours a night of homework will that be? So it really is subjective on the student, and there's not a wrong answer of how many, courses you should take.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Anderson, specifically about math and science, what is the differences, or what could you expect as the differences between an honors and a Regents level class in math and science?
There are a few main differences between Regents level and honors level courses in math and science. The first is that the honors level courses move much faster. They go at a faster pace. So you're expected to do more work outside of class. There'll be less time for asking questions in class because the pace is just much faster. So if you know that you're someone who likes to spend a lot of time processing or has needed to spend a lot of time in extra help with teacher in 8th grade, then it might not be the best choice for you to do in honors class. On the other hand, there's some other differences, such as the number of topics that are covered. So in honors classes, sometimes there are enrichment topics, or sometimes it's the same topics as the Regents courses, but just in more depth. So that is why the pace is a little bit faster. The other main difference, and this is specific to honors earth science, is that there is an honors project. So every quarter in honors earth science, there is a project that is above and beyond what the Regents curriculum would ask you to do. So those are the main differences.
Well, thank you. And Dr. Finzel, same question, but now from an English and social studies perspective.
Well, just to kind of echo what Ms. Anderson said, it's going to be very similar in the fact that there's going to be a higher expectation of what kids are able to do. Kids are going to move at a faster pace through the class, and students are going to be expected to have a higher capacity with their reading and writing skills. So a lot more is going to be expected of the kids to do independent work, to come to class prepared, to be able to engage, to be proactive, and know when to reach out for assistance. There's going to be less time devoted to building core and general level skills and more time used in the application and higher level analyses of those skills in those classes. And again, similar to what Ms. Anderson said, beyond the skill component, a key difference in an honors level class compared to a Regents class is going to be the depth to which one engages in the content. So in a Regents class, there's going to be a general survey, whereas in an honors, there's going to be more extensions, additions, or, a deeper dive into a particular area. So that's what I'd say would be some of the key differences in honors and Regents level classes in 9th grade.
Well, thank you. And kind of along the same lines, Ms. Anderson, I'm going to go to you. You're a teacher of French 2 and French 2A. Was it French or Spanish? As I'm thinking this. can you explain the differences between those courses? And also, a secondary question with that is, can they switch after the school year has started if it is too hard?
Sure. So French 2, and the difference between a level 2 and a level 2A course is that the 2A course is going to move about 3 times as fast as the level 2 course. So you want to think about when you're choosing those, your 8th grade teacher's recommendation, kind of what Ms. Baumgartner was talking about, balancing out your schedule, and make a choice that's right for you about which level to take. Once you're in a course, you usually stay within that track until the end of that year. If there was an adjustment that needed to be made, that discussion would be had with your high school guidance counselor. But most likely, most of the time, it's at the end of the year is when you can reevaluate your decision to stay in the advanced track or go back or just go with the traditional rate.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Anderson, this is another question to you. It says if he didn't start off in an accelerated, let's take a couple of different views of this. If I wasn't accelerated in middle school, or I don't start off in honors in 9th grade, does that mean those options are not available for me later on in high school? The different options, whether it be calculus or other honors classes?
No, absolutely not. So we are able to evaluate level based on teacher recommendation, student request, and counselor recommendation at every year. So if you started out and you weren't accelerated in 8th grade, but you decide that you wanted to take honors geometry as a sophomore, that is definitely open to you. What I would recommend if you're in that position and you think you want to do that, or if you decide you are accelerated and you decide that you don't really want to take on all of the honors classes your freshman year, but maybe you want to take an additional honors class in your sophomore year, I would recommend talking to your teacher right away. So if you know that you are interested in taking honors earth science, say, as a sophomore, I would talk to your biology teacher immediately at the start of the year and talk to them about what skills they would need to see, what study skills they need to see, what content mastery they'd need to see, and how you can show them that you deserve that honors recommendation. So recommendations are usually made by high school teachers in December. So you really don't have a lot of time in the fall. You really need to talk to your teachers right away. And then once you've started that conversation, you can do multiple check-ins through the year. And at that point, you could ask to then be recommended for honors.
Great.
Do you want me to address the calculus question in particular?
Yeah, that's a good question because that comes up a lot too.
So sometimes students who are not accelerated in math in 8th grade still want to be able to take calculus by the time they graduate from high school. So this is not a typical pathway, but it is something that students sometimes do. If they are taking Algebra 2 as a junior, at the end of their junior year, they can, during the summer, take pre-calculus through Hudson Valley or through Schenectady County Community College. Both of those colleges offer a course that is the equivalent of the pre-calculus course we teach here on campus. One thing to consider, though, is that because it's condensed into an 8-week course or a 12-week course, it is much faster and much more intensive than the full year-long course we offer here. But it is an option for students who want to take calculus their senior year and are not accelerated in 8th grade.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm going to shift gears to some questions about music and art now. So Mr. Winans, I'm going to start with you. The question is my child allowed to participate in multiple musical ensembles?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answer is absolutely. If the student is both a singer and an instrumentalist, they can take multiple ensembles. And we also have a wide variety of extracurricular musical offerings as well.
Okay, great. The other question says, do students who are enrolled in music ensembles have to take in-school lessons?
Yes, and this is a little bit of a change from years past, but students who are enrolled in musical ensembles will be required to take the in-school lessons as well. It's a part of the course.
Okay, thank you. And this is a question that comes up a ton, and feel free, Mr. Lyons or Ms. Elliott, both of you, to answer this. Can my child take both music and art courses?
Absolutely, of course. We encourage participation in all of the arts, and I will let Dr. Elliott, who's been here longer than I, take it over and add anything that she would like to.
This is a common question that we get, and there's always, almost always a way to work it out. So I would say reach out to your counselor and figure out how you can do both, because they're both very important. I wanted to also take a moment to answer a question, if we had a question on the pathways for art. You know, what courses you might need to take if you wanted to do a 4+1 pathway, either in art or in business. So in art, you want to start with one of the studio classes, and that can happen in 8th grade, or it can happen in 9th grade. And you take a sequence of art courses. It can be traditional art making, or it can be digital or media based. And then the final is AP Studio Art. With business, there's a 4+1 pathway for what we have 3 CTE business pathways programs: accounting and finance, business management and entrepreneurship, or marketing. And for those, you want to start with career and money skills. That's your foundation course. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Austin, I got some questions about physical education and health, and I'm going to start with this. In what grades do the majority of students elect to take health?
So I'd like to start just by mentioning that students receive health in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade at FMS, and that's not the case at every school. So with that in mind, because they're taking 3 consecutive years of health, my recommendation would be for students to wait until 10th or 11th grade to take health. That's the bulk of our students that do take high school health are in 10th and 11th grade. 9th and 12th graders do take high school health, but most of the class, like I said, is made up of 10th and 11th graders. Because it's a class with 9th through 12th graders in it, our teachers are cognizant of the fact that they are teaching their content to a wide range of ages. So they're careful with how they approach their content and their conversations.
Thank you. So can you tell us what are some of the differences our students and parents should expect from about PE from FMS to now transitioning to high school?
Sure, I'll start by mentioning that it is a New York State graduation requirement to have 4 years of physical education at the high school level. And similar to at FMS, our students do get a numerical grade in phys ed, and it is part of their GPA. As far as differences, at the FMS, the middle school, they are taking PE by grade level. At the high school, we separate our PE classes into 9th and 10th graders taking PE together, and then 11th and 12th graders take PE together. We also have block scheduling PE at the high school, so just about 80 minutes of phys ed once every 4 days. 8th graders do not have block scheduling for PE, so that's a difference. Over the course of a quarter, students will get about 10 different classes of PE. So as a result, any missed time, any missed PE classes has to get made up. And the teachers, of course, will communicate with their students about the makeup process. For example, if they have a study hall, they can arrange to take a makeup PE class during the school day, during their study hall. Our teachers also offer makeups after school, so that's an option as well. And the last thing I'd like to mention just about PE is kind of one of those important things to keep in mind as your child starts 9th grade. Our teachers use multiple teaching stations. we'll bounce around from the West Gym to the East Gym. So students will be using different locker rooms. So we don't assign them a specific locker. So we ask that they purchase a padlock that they can bring with them to each of their PE classes, because we will be bouncing around. So we just want to make sure we're locking all of our stuff up.
And I will reinforce that as an administrator in this building, it is very important to lock your stuff up in the locker room. High theft area if you do not lock up your stuff. Okay, Ms. Baumgartner, either you or Mr. Austin might be able to answer this question. We have a lot of students that come into high school and they have plans of thinking that, at some point I'd like to go into a Division I or Division II athletic program. Are there specific courses that you have to take if you're planning on going into one of those colleges or universities?
Yes, so NCAA has very specific course requirements for students to be eligible to play Division I or Division II sports in college. So the good news is that following New York State graduation requirements puts you on the right path to that. But sometimes classes that Gilliland High School might use for graduation might be seen a little differently by the NCAA. So the number one thing I would like to put out there today is, if you think your son or daughter would like to play Division I or Division II sports in college, the earlier you tell the high school counselor, the better. So in the freshman year, in spring of the freshman year, we meet with every single student and their parent for a planning conference where we kind of map out the courses that you're going to take throughout high school. And that's a great time to know that you plan on playing Division I or Division II sports, so we can kind of plan ahead. And so there aren't any surprises at the end. Now, some students may not know till later. So I'll just say again, the earlier you tell us, the better for program planning.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to transition to some other questions that are more specific to specific aspects of our high school program. Ms. Anderson, I'm going to go to you. There was a question about what are the prerequisites for some pathways, including computer science, Project Lead the Way, and science electives.
Okay, so I will start with talking a little bit about the computer science pathway. This is a pathway we've been adding to over the last few years, so it's become a little bit more robust than it was in the past. We start by encouraging anyone who is interested in taking advanced computer science courses to take computer science principles, either as a freshman or as a sophomore. Our computer science pathway is 3 years long. So some students choose to start it as freshmen if they have room in their schedule. Others choose to start it as sophomores. But if you start as a junior, it will be hard to get all the way to the third level, which is the AP Computer Science. So Computer Science Principles is 1 semester long. We encourage students to then take computer programming Java, which is also 1 semester long. That way they can fit both courses in the same year, and we schedule them so that they are opposite each other. So it's a seamless transition from one to the other without needing to change the schedule. Then you have some options from that point on. So there are a number of different electives. The typical pathway would be to then go on to either computer programming Python, or to go on to game design and mobile app design, which are also semester courses. So Python is a full year course. The Python course also for the last 2 years has been offered for Siena College credit. So that is another option. And then the capstone course in that pathway is AP Computer Science, which is an AP level full year long course. So the progression typically is computer science principles and Java, and then Python, and then AP, but there are some other options there as well. For Project Lead the Way, we encourage students to start with the pre-engineering course of drawing and design for production. So the Project Lead the Way, drawing for design and production. And then from there, there are 3 other Project Lead the Way courses that students are able to take. It doesn't really matter what order you take the other 3 in, but most students tend to go to CEA, which is Civil Engineering and Architecture, in their sophomore year, Principles of Engineering in their junior year, and then Digital Electronics in their senior year. again, it doesn't really, those aren't set in stone in that order, but you do have to take the DDP or Drawing for Design and Production first before you take the other 3 courses. Our science electives are varied and they have different prerequisites. Most of our electives do require at least general chemistry though, so you would want to consider taking general chemistry or Regents chemistry either before taking some of the upper level electives or concurrently with some of the electives. So students typically don't have enough space in their schedule to take those electives until junior year or sometimes sophomore year. So usually that works out. But if you have a specific science elective you'd like to take, definitely talk to your counselor about what the prerequisites are to make sure that you take everything you need to be able to take that course.
In this question, I think we just got to explain this a little bit. It says, is the STEAM program for students looking to go to college, or is it more for those who want to work right after high school? And when we say STEAM program, we're talking about science, technology, engineering, art, and math. But can you kind of explain what we mean by the STEAM program? Because I think it might be a little confusing.
Sure. So the STEAM program can be any of the pathways I just talked about. It can also be the art pathway that Dr. Elliott spoke about earlier, or it can be any combination of those courses. So for example, if you're interested in engineering, you might want to take some of the DDP and some of the other Project Lead the Way courses, but also take some drawing courses in the art department. So there's really a lot of good ways to mix and match in a STEAM pathway. As far as which students those pathways are designed for, it's really for all students. Many students do choose to take STEAM classes to get some college credits. We already talked about the AP courses and the Python course for Siena credit. The Project Lead the Way courses also run through University of Rochester, so there's credit, I'm sorry, RIT, so there's credit there as well. And we have other courses through both departments that are run for college credit. So that's definitely something you want to consider if you're thinking of going on to college. If you don't plan to go on to college, there's still a lot of value in these electives. We have electives that are standalone electives. For example, we have a manufacturing course that can be taken as a standalone course. We have an electronics course that can be taken as a standalone course. We have some health sciences courses that can be taken as standalones. So that you don't have to take a series of courses, you can mix and match whatever your interest level is.
Okay, and this question says, if AP Computer Science is offered, can it be used as a STEAM pathway in place of normal computer science?
I'm going to take a little bit of a guess here that by normal computer science, the person who asked this question is talking about some of the other programming classes. As I said before, the computer science principles course, which is a semester course, is really the foundation course, the one that needs to be taken first. And then from there, there can be some different pathways to get to some of the more advanced programming courses. Students don't have to take AP Computer Science as part of that pathway. They can take computer science as part of that pathway. It definitely counts as a computer science credit. And as I said, there's multiple different ways to kind of navigate through that pathway. So if you have a really specific question about which courses you'd like to take, that's something to address with your counselor.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Finzel, one of the questions that comes up a lot every year, and it was asked again tonight, is when will the lottery be available for the Aligned program? For students who are interested in the 9th grade Aligned program, when will we do the lottery?
Sure, that's a great question, Mike. The lottery will only be necessary if we have more students interested in the Aligned program than we have space available. And typically that process is going to start early in the springtime when we begin to do scheduling for the next school year. So typically any student who's in there, who's interested, we do a random lottery and we select kids to go in there using random number generation, and the students who are selected, we then reach out to the parents to confirm if they are still interested in maintaining those spots. It's important to note that participation in the Aligned program requires students to be concurrently enrolled in both Global 9 and English 9, that they have to take those together. Sometimes there is due to unanticipated circumstances that there are scheduling conflicts. So for example, a student might really want to take an art class or a music class, and due to conflicts in the scheduling system, a student and their family might be confronted with having to make the hard choice between participating in aligned or participating in their electives. But that's how we typically will run the aligned lottery when we get ready to do scheduling for next year.
Okay. And then the next question was about our E equals MC squared program. And it's asked, can freshmen take or participate in the E equals MC squared program, which it might be helpful to just describe what is the program first.
Sure. Another great question, Mr. Piscatelli. So E equals MC squared stands for Exploring with Mindfulness, Creativity, and Curiosity. And what it is, it's a guided inquiry course where students work with the librarians, Mr. Bernie Bott and Ms. Melissa Gergen at the high school. And they work closely to explore their own questions and to pursue the answers to those questions through qualitative and quantitative research. It's definitely a process-oriented course. We have never had a freshman take E equals MC squared with one rare circumstance. But students who are interested in learning more about E equals MC squared, I strongly encourage them to reach out to Mr. Bott and Ms. Gergen in the library expressing their interest, so that way they can kind of understand what the commitments are to that, and they could start to do some pre-E equals MC squared groundwork in their freshman year in advance of their sophomore year.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Ranieri, I got some questions for you, and they're surrounding our sign language classes. And the first one says, can my student take American Sign Language instead of Spanish, French, German, or Italian starting in 9th grade?
So going forward, we're encouraging our students to still stay in Spanish, French, German, and Italian, and take sign language more of an elective. So if after they've started, say, Italian as a 9th grader, then they're encouraged, if they want to take on a second language, to take on Italian, to take on sign language, to take on something else to build their language repertoire. But at this time, we're not encouraging 9th graders to switch from their language. We're asking them to continue with the language they had in middle school and then carry that through to at least level 4 to get their Regents diploma.
Excellent. And the second question was, does American Sign Language culminate in a Regents Checkpoint B exam? And can my student get graduation credit if they take American Sign Language?
Yeah, so sign language goes all the way to sign language 3, and in level 3, students can take the Checkpoint B, which is formerly known as the Regents exam, so they can get graduation credit in sign language. We're just not promising that that sequence is going to happen, so that's why we're encouraging them to stay in with one of the Romance languages.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Baumgartner, we're going to switch to some general high school program and schedule questions. And this one's a little bit of a long one. If a student wants an advanced Regents diploma and would like to meet the requirements by taking 5 courses in business and technology, can they take DDP, a technology engineering class, and then 4 business credits, example marketing, to meet this requirement? Or do all 5 classes have to be from the same department, business or technology?
Okay, so I'm going to back up a little. Getting the advanced Regents diploma is based on passing a certain amount of exams with a 65 or higher. And many of our students, as Ms. Ranieri was just saying, get that advanced Regents by taking the Checkpoint B exam through world language. But some students choose not to do that. They have a passion for art, for music, for business, technology, and so if they want to get the advanced Regents diploma that way, they have to take 5 credits worth of courses in that area. So if you wanted to earn a business sequence, I guess, or go towards the advanced Regents using business, you'd have to take all 5 credits in the business department. So design and drawing for production is technology, so that would not count for business.
Okay. Another question was, it's more about just the general schedule. Do I have to have a study hall in 9th grade?
So we recommend that everybody, all freshmen, have a study hall, one study hall every other day. That's what we considered a fully scheduled student who has one study hall. Now, there are cases where students might not. For example, as mentioned before, if they want to fit in both music and art, that would lead to them not having a study hall. But we also want to encourage students not to try to fill up a study hall because they think they might not use it, or because they think a college might look negatively upon a study hall, but colleges don't know how many study halls you have. And we find a lot of freshmen use that study hall, even if they didn't use a study hall in 8th grade. As this year has shown us, you never know when you might be out due to an illness, and coming back and having to make up work and meeting with teachers, like having a study hall is a really helpful thing. And especially if you're taking a lot of advanced courses, it's a really great way to kind of keep on top of your work and help you meet with other students or teachers. So we do encourage that.
Okay. Ms. Willits, I've got a question for you. It's about, okay, the differences between 8th grade and 9th grade and the transition. So what happens if I fail a class in 9th grade?
Actually, I think that's a really important question. As you've heard everybody talking about, there's certain numbers of credits in all our different areas that are required for graduation in New York. Therefore, if you fail a course in 9th grade, you either have to retake that course in summer school that year, or you're going to have to retake the course during your regular course load of the following year. So my recommendation is to work hard and pass your courses.
Okay. Ms. Baumgartner, this is more about a graduation requirement. Is there a community service requirement for graduation?
There is not a community service requirement for graduation. What we have is a community service designation at graduation, which means students who have 200 or plus hours of community service starting from July 1st before their freshman year, because that's when you're officially a freshman, to May of your senior year, you get a special designation at graduation. So as a school, though, we do believe that community service is an important part of a student's educational career, and we do encourage that. Colleges also put great faith in that and look highly upon that. So we do encourage students to, involve themselves in community service any chance they get.
Thank you. Ms. Holmes, there was a question about co-curricular. Like, what are some examples of our co-curricular opportunities at the high school level?
Well, we have over 60 club opportunities for our students, and they run the gamut from academically based to artistically based, to things like student government, to class advisories. So there really is truly something for everybody. And I can't stress enough to get involved, to make a connection with other people, other peers. And sometimes our students, when they come into 9th grade, they're so overwhelmed by where do I go for my class? They're not thinking about how do I get involved? And that's okay. Is that they don't have to just wait for September. A lot of clubs have open enrollment. They're welcoming throughout the whole year. They want people to participate. So take a deep breath, 9th grade parents out there, like, oh, what do my kids have to get involved in? The doors are always open. All are welcome. And our club advisors are just phenomenal with making connections with kids. It's just a great, healthy outlet for our children.
Great. We're at our final question of the evening, and Ms. Holmes, you get the honor of it. It says, what is the Focus program?
So I'll go briefly into Focus. Focus is an opportunity, a program for students who need a little bit more of social emotional support coming into the high school. And we have the program runs from 9th to 12th grade. There is a Focus family component where the students are set into smaller groups and attached with the teacher, support staff, and they have an opportunity to kind of work through some things, some struggles, and this opportunity lets them to work through that also has a positive impact on their academics and a positive impact on how their peer relationships can go. So Focus, though, is very popular. So sometimes there is a wait list for those who want to get involved in it. You can definitely reach out to the counselor about more of the specifics of the program and how it works. There's an academic tutorial piece to it that allows for the Focus students to work together on their academics. So all of those questions can really be asked the counselor and say, does my child fit this program? Or is there other opportunities? What other ways can we get involved? But focus on the program.
Okay, great. Well, that kind of concludes our presentation of our 8th grade information night. In the presentation that we shared last week, there was a list of contacts for all our departments. And so if anything came out of this presentation tonight, or you feel like you need more information, I would absolutely advise you to reach out to any of the panel members here tonight. The department instructional administrators can give you specifics about specific departmental courses and pathways. And obviously the counselors can answer any question about scheduling concerns and the process and so forth. But I want to thank you again for joining us, and I want to say have a good evening. Thank you.